At 12:01 p.m., every single word ever written on Earth simply ceased to exist. It wasn't just a computer glitch, the physical ink on your paper vanished too, but the nightmare was just beginning. By the end of this, you'll understand how a world without a past can't have a future. We are about to witness the day humanity's identity was deleted. This is the Vanishing Ink event. In the first 5 minutes, hospitals became death traps. Doctors looked at screens and saw nothing, no blood types, no allergies, and no surgical history. Every patient became a complete stranger to the system. The global economy died in a heartbeat. Every bank ledger, every credit card record, and every stock vanished. Your life savings didn't just drop to zero, the record of them ever existing was gone. Here is the part that sounds made up. Tattoos started peeling off like wet stickers. The ink didn't just fade, it detached from the skin as if the body forgot how to hold it. Who are you if you can't prove it? Passports became blank notebooks, birth certificates turned into scrap paper. Without a record, 3 billion people technically ceased to exist in the eyes of the law. Logistics ground to a halt instantly. GPS satellites were still up there, but the digital maps they projected were empty grids. Truckers stopped mid-highway because they didn't know where they were going. Ships carrying half the world's food supply were suddenly lost at sea, with no manifests and no digital logs. The captains didn't know what they were carrying or who it was for. Then, a psychological phenomenon called the blank started. People began forgetting their own names because they couldn't see them written down anywhere. Our brains were tethered to our records more than we knew. Even the carvings on the Lincoln Memorial and the Great Pyramid smoothed over. It was as if a cosmic eraser was scrubbing every human mark from the planet. History was being overwritten by silence. Riots broke out within 3 hours. If no one owns anything, then everyone owns everything. People began reclaiming houses they didn't live in, and there was no paper trail to stop them. Governments collapsed by sunset, orders couldn't be written, and laws couldn't be referenced. A police officer couldn't even write a ticket because the ink would vanish before he finished the first letter. What I haven't told you yet is the part that makes everything worse. The erasure wasn't just happening to the past, it was happening to the present in real time. People tried to scratch words into the dirt, but the wind seemed to blow the grooves shut instantly. It was a physical law being rewritten. Communication was being reduced to grunts and gestures. Scientists believe a high-energy information burst from a nearby supernova hit Earth. It didn't kill us, but it flipped every bit of digital data and unbonded every ink molecule. Here's the crazy part. People started seeing their own reflections as blank silhouettes. Without the data of their faces in photos and IDs, their brains struggled to process their own features. By day 2, the global internet was a dead husk. The cables were there, but there was no code to travel through them. The world was silent, dark, and completely illiterate. The psychological toll was massive. Without news, rumors became reality. People believed the moon had disappeared simply because they couldn't find a record that it was supposed to be there. Time itself became a mystery. Without digital clocks or printed calendars, humanity lost its place in the year. Was it Tuesday? Was it October? No one could prove it. The what factor got even weirder. Certain species of birds that rely on visual patterns for mating stopped breeding. The world was losing its design because the record of it was gone. Deep underground, the world's most secure data vaults were opened. They were filled with billions of dollars of hardware that was now nothing more than expensive, blank silicon. Bartering became the only way to survive. But how do you trade when you can't record a debt? Society reverted to a take-what-you-can-carry mentality within 48 hours. There is one detail nobody mentions. The erasure didn't affect human memory directly, but without external records to check our facts, our memories began to distort and change rapidly. Art was lost too. The Mona Lisa became a blank wooden board. The Sistine Chapel was just a white ceiling. Humanity's soul was being wiped clean along with its data. By day 3, the first new tribes formed. Without written laws, charismatic leaders took control through oral promises, but without a way to record those promises, betrayal became the new norm. Scientists in a remote, lead-shielded lab noticed something. Their records hadn't vanished. The lead was blocking the information-eating radiation, but they were the only ones who knew. This lab held the last remaining records of human history, the formula for penicillin, the blueprints for engines, and the names of the stars. It was the only hard drive left on Earth. But how do you tell a world that has forgotten how to read that you have the answers? The scientists faced a terrifying realization. They were the last librarians of a dead world. Here is the part that sounds like a movie. They realized the vanishing ink wasn't a natural disaster, it was a targeted strike from an intelligence that wanted humanity to restart from zero. The information eaters were harvesting our data, every book, every tweet, every bank record was being sucked into a higher dimension. We were being mined for our collective knowledge. Humanity was now a blank slate, but humans are stubborn. We didn't just give up and wander into the woods, we started to fight back with the only thing they couldn't erase. Stone. The information eaters ignored physical indentations in hard rock, they only targeted pigments and magnetic bits. The solution was the most primitive technology we had. Across the world, people began carving their names into the walls of their homes. I am John. I live here. This is my family. The age of the stone record had begun. The scientists from the lead lab began a massive project. They weren't printing books, they were building a city made of etched granite. Every wall was a page of an encyclopedia. This became known as the Lithos Archive. It was a city you could read. If you wanted to know how to purify water, you went to the south wall; for medicine, the east pillars. The weirdest thing happened next. Because we had to be so selective about what we carved, we stopped recording the garbage. No more ads, no more spam, no more hate speech. Humanity's history became shorter, but deeper. We only kept what was essential. The information eaters eventually left, finding nothing left to harvest from our heavy stone records. By the end of the first decade, children were born who had never seen paper. They learned to read by touching the grooves in the walls. Their world was permanent and tactile. We lost our digital convenience, but we gained a collective memory that couldn't be deleted. The day the ink vanished was the day we realized that if something is worth knowing, it's worth carving. The world became slower, but it became more honest. You couldn't lie in stone as easily as you could in pixels. The weight of our words finally matched their importance. What happened to the ink? It never came back. Even today, if you try to use a pen, the words vanish before the ink dries. We are a civilization of stone now. Scientists believe the radiation changed the atmosphere's chemistry forever. Pigments are simply no longer stable on our planet, but in a way, it saved us from our own digital noise. We learned that the most important records aren't stored in clouds or on paper, they are stored in the effort we take to preserve them. We are no longer the people of the screen. We are the people of the mountain, and as long as the earth remains, our story will be etched into its skin, permanent and unerasable. We survived the day the ink died. Next time you write something down, ask yourself, if the ink vanished tomorrow, would you bother carving it in stone? Because one day, your digital life might just disappear forever.